The village of Beni Mazar, nestled in the heart of Egypt, was a picture of rural tranquility. The Nile flowed serenely nearby, its lifeblood sustaining the surrounding fields. Laughter of children playing echoed through the narrow streets, their innocent joy a stark contrast to the darkness that was about to descend. The villagers, a close-knit community, were known for their warmth and hospitality. But on that fateful day in 2005, an eerie silence fell upon Beni Mazar, a silence that spoke volumes of the horror that had unfolded. The air, usually alive with the sounds of life, grew heavy with foreboding. Something was amiss. A palpable sense of dread hung over the village like a shroud. The usual bustle of daily life seemed to grind to a halt, replaced by an uneasy stillness. The villagers, their faces etched with worry, whispered amongst themselves, their hushed tones betraying their growing fear. The idyllic peace of Beni Mazar had been shattered, leaving behind a chilling void. Abu Bakr Abdelmajid, a local farmer, was going about his daily routine, oblivious to the macabre scene that awaited him. As he approached the house of his neighbor, a sense of unease washed over him. The door was slightly ajar, an unusual sight in the peaceful village. He called out, his voice trembling slightly, but there was no response. A knot of dread tightened in his stomach. With hesitant steps, he pushed the door open, peering cautiously inside. The sight that greeted him sent a jolt of horror through his veins. The room was shrouded in an unnatural stillness. Bodies, lifeless and still, lay scattered on the floor, their forms barely discernible beneath the white sheets that covered them. A strangled cry escaped his lips as the full weight of the scene crashed down upon him. 8 souls, brutally extinguished, lay before him in a horrific tableau of violence. Panic surged through him. He stumbled back, his mind reeling from the sheer horror of it all, before turning and fleeing, desperate to alert the authorities. The news of the massacre spread like wildfire through the village, leaving a trail of shock and terror in its wake. The victims, 4 members of the same family and their 4 housekeepers, had been brutally murdered. Their bodies bore multiple stab wounds, a chilling testament to the killer's rage. The house, a place of warmth and laughter just hours before, was now a chilling spectacle of bloodshed. The walls, stained crimson, stood as mute witnesses to the unspeakable acts of violence that had transpired within. But amidst the carnage, a strange detail emerged, one that sent shivers down the spines of even the most hardened investigators. Beside each body, carefully placed, was a dead pigeon. The birds, symbols of peace and purity, lay in stark contrast to the gruesome scene, their presence only deepening the mystery. Whispers of ancient curses and ritualistic killing spread through the village, fueling the growing sense of dread. Section 4. A locked room and silent witnesses. The police descended upon Beni Mazar, their investigation hampered by the lack of obvious leads. The house, dusted for fingerprints and meticulously combed for clues, yielded little. The doors and windows were bolted from the inside, ruling out the possibility of an intruder. There was no sign of forced entry, no trace of the murder weapon, and no apparent motive for the gruesome crime. The villagers, their faces etched with fear and suspicion, offered little help. They were more concerned with appeasing vengeful spirits than aiding the police. Days turned into weeks, and the investigation seemed to hit a dead end. The killer, it seemed, had vanished into thin air, leaving behind a trail of unanswered questions. The lack of a motive only deepened the mystery, casting a long shadow of doubt and suspicion over the village. Theories ranging from family feuds to ancient blood rituals abounded, but none could fully explain the savage nature of the crime or the eerie presence of the pigeons. Section 5. A nation gripped by fear. The massacre at Beni Mazar sent shockwaves through Egypt. The brutality of the crime, coupled with the lack of a clear motive, shook the nation to its core. Newspaper headlines screamed of the pigeon murders, and the story dominated conversations across the country. Fear gripped the nation, seeping into the collective consciousness like a poison. People, once accustomed to a sense of safety and security, now looked over their shoulders, their trust in the world around them irrevocably shattered. Theories about the motive behind the massacre ran rampant, each more outlandish than the last. Some whispered of ancient curses, of vengeful spirits seeking retribution for past wrongs. Others pointed to the pigeons, their presence a chilling reminder of the unknown. The lack of answers only fueled the speculation, turning the tragedy into a morbid fascination for some, a source of endless nightmares for others.